and welcome to this podcast, Feel Inside Yourself. My name is Ulla Goldberg. I'm a host of this podcast and I'm a coach and mentor from Germany. I help people to create a life with ease, with more serenity, with a positive mindset. And this podcast is here for you to raise your awareness, to become more mindful, and to just find peace and security within you. Again to a new episode of Feel Inside Yourself, and this is my second episode in English and the first solo episode, so I'm a little bit excited. And I'm also excited because this is going to be a deep dive into my soul. Maybe it feels a little bit like a striptease, like a soul striptease, what I'm going to talk about now. And on the other hand, it feels a little more anonymous to me to do it in English, which is kind of funny because if you consider the whole world, there's more people that could understand this episode in English than there would be if I did it in German. And still, somehow it feels more anonymous and private to me. It's really funny. If you don't know me yet, you probably don't know that. I think in a former life, I was an American. I have that, I don't know, I love speaking in English. Sometimes even I think in English, and I used to live in the States for a year. It's a long time ago, 2008 till 2009. And when I was there, I actually kept thinking and dreaming in English. And it was easier for me to talk English than to talk German. And then the last couple of years, I didn't talk that much English. And now I really have the feeling I want to do that podcast more in English. And so today I'm going to talk about midlife crisis. I think I have a little midlife crisis. Well, I'm 35 years old now, and you would maybe think, okay, where's the problem? And I hope this is not the mid of my life. I always say I want to be 100 years old. If I'm fine, if I'm physically and mentally healthy, then I want to be 100 years old because there's so many things I still want to achieve, so many things I want to share with the world, so many goals and dreams and wishes. So I still need a couple more years. But still, I somehow feel I'm in a midlife crisis. Well, a big topic. Like I said, 35 years old. I will be 36 in a couple of months. So I'm closer to 40 than I'm to 30. And that makes me feel weird a little bit because I think mainly I'm a 35-year-old woman without children. And that itself is not a problem, but for me, I always wanted to have children. When I was like 16 years old, I always thought I was going to have 3 children by the time I was 30. Well, when I was 16, 30 seemed pretty far away. And then at the beginning of my 20s, I lived that year in the US and I was there as an au pair. So I took care of 2 gorgeous girls a whole year every day. And after that, I was kind of like, okay, don't hurry with kids because I had a great time with the girls and I loved them. But also I thought, okay, taking care of children all day long is not what I want to do right now. So which was good when I was 22, 23 years old. So I still thought, okay, you have some time until you're 30. But then mostly in my 20s, I was single. When I came closer to being 30 at the end of my 20s, I was never in a relationship where I thought, okay, this could lead to children. So I was mainly single, and the thought of having 3 children by the age of 30, didn't happen, didn't work out. I came closer to 30. I didn't have that stable relationship where I wanted to have children. And it was kind of fine. I thought, okay, you still have enough time, no worries. And then right before my 30th birthday, I met my husband, my now husband. So when I met him and we moved in together and we got married after 2 years, the dream of having children or the thought of having children became more realistic now. As realistic as it had never been before. So I kind of was like, okay, I will have children. no problem. And then it didn't, after we got married, it didn't happen right away. And people kept asking. And I felt a lot of pressure on us because, I mean, we wanted to have these children and we tried to have them and it didn't happen. And people asked and I kind of felt something's wrong with us. But on the other hand, I didn't feel good at all. And I got pretty sick. Not from not getting pregnant, but from just going into a burnout, having that depression. And so I think before that, I wanted to have children because it would have been a way out of all that stress and all that work. And if you probably already hear what the problem is, that you shouldn't have children because you don't like your life like it is right now. I mean, it makes more sense to first solve these things and then have children, because we all know if you already have children, it's not going to get more easy with children. So, but that was my wish, that I could change my life or get a break and then decide what I wanted to do if I had children. So it didn't work out that way. I went into the burnout. It changed my entire life. And it took a while because from that burnout and depression, I was in a lot of anxiety. And so then there was a time where it was very good we didn't have children, because I had a lot of time to take care of myself. I quit my job. I went into that my own business, and that took a lot of energy and healing. I still, after that, I went to therapy because of that being burned out. And after only a couple of weeks, my therapist said, well, you're ready to go back to work. You're fine now when it comes to the burnout. And I still didn't feel fine. And we discovered that I was deeply traumatized in my childhood. And then I went to therapy another 2 years because of that trauma, not because of the burnout, but because of the trauma, which most people don't know. Probably my therapist knows me best. My husband and my mom know some of that stuff. But other than that, people don't know, and it's okay. So I wanted to do more healing first and be fine, to not give all that trauma to my children, because that's what I believe in, that from other generations we get a lot of topics and that we don't even know about it. Maybe things that happened to our ancestors a few generations before us. So I felt like, okay, there's things that I don't want to pass on to my children. And I mean, I didn't feel like having children. It took me a lot of time and a lot of energy to build my business, to heal, and probably I'm still not done. So there was a while when we thought, okay, if it happens, then it's meant to be and we're supposed to have that child. But then there were phases where we were like, no, let's not have children right now, because there were so many other things going on and it wasn't the right time. And that's why I'm right now at that point. I know that in the last couple of years, there were a lot of times where it was not a good timing to have children. So on one hand, I'm glad and happy that it didn't happen. But on the other hand, if it hasn't happened for a couple of years, why would it happen now? And that's where I hear the clock ticking, and that's what brings more pressure on to me. Being 35 itself is not a problem. I have friends that had their first children when they were at the end of their 30s, and I know that's not a problem. But if you have struggled with it a lot of months, I would say, then you never know if it's going to happen. So right now, I have the feeling that I have a lot of love to give, and I have a feeling that I will be a great mom, and that I really want to have children, and that it's a big wish for me. One of my big 5 for life that I wrote down when I read the book by John Strzelecki, the big five for life, I wrote down having children, being a mom. And on the one hand, I still feel that and I have that wish, and I'm sad when every month when it didn't happen. On the other hand, that's also interesting. The older I get, the more doubts I have. Do I want to have children in this world? Do I want to, will I be able to take care of them? Will I be a good mom? Will I be able to handle all of this? I mean, I know a lot of moms, and I would say most of them seem to be pretty stressed. They constantly have a lack of sleep. They never have time for themselves. And I'm somebody, I need a lot of time for myself. So I know for myself, being a full-time mom would probably not work out. And I do have a husband who would take care of the children with me. So I mean, I wouldn't be alone. But still, I'm scared a lot of times. And I think it's a part of why I don't have children yet is I am scared. Actually, there's a lot of fear. Will I do it right? Will I be okay with everything that I've been through? Will I be stable enough to have children? Will I be a good mom? Will I be able to provide for them? What will happen to my business if I have children now? So there's so many questions, and it's two strong feelings within me. There's a strong feeling that I have a lot of love for children and that I will do a great job. On the other hand, a lot of fear. And that's probably why I want to talk about that today, because maybe you are out there and you have some of the same thoughts. Maybe you're in your 30s and you don't have a partner yet, or maybe you're in your 30s and you just haven't gotten pregnant yet, or maybe you're in your 30s and you don't even know if you want children. Maybe you're scared too sometimes. And if you decide for yourself that you don't want to have children, it's perfectly fine too. But for me, I know now that it's a big wish and I don't know if it will come true. And that scares me. So it sounds a little crazy. And that's probably why I said I have like a midlife crisis, because sometimes it feels like a little crisis. Do I want to have children or not? Am I going to be able to do it or handle it or not? Is it going to happen physically or not? What am I going to do if we were not going to have children? So there's a lot of thoughts in my mind, and on the other hand, I hear that clock ticking, because we want to have more than one child. And so, yeah, a lot of ambivalent feelings and thoughts around that topic. And I have the feeling that a lot of people don't talk about it, that it's still something you don't talk about it. It's either, well, if you're probably a woman in your 30s and you're single, people are not going to say anything about it, or maybe they even do. Family, I mean, we've experienced a lot of stuff, what people said to us, and I think now I'm open to talk about all that. I don't have a problem saying we want children, but it hasn't happened yet, and this and that, and explain it. But I know there were phases where it really, really hurt me after we got married, and people were like, yeah, she's going to be pregnant really soon, because most people around me know that I love children and that I'm very good with children. And probably most people thought that I was going to have a lot of children by the age I'm 35 or 30 or something. And now I don't. So you think, or what I thought was, is something wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why can't I have children? And I don't know. So there was a lot of disappointment too over the last couple of years. And I think it wouldn't stress me if I knew, okay, well, it can happen fast. But like I said, it hasn't happened in a while. So why would it happen now? And am I capable of handling all of this? Do I trust myself enough to know that I will be fine, and that we will be fine, and that we will be great as parents? And then I also think, if that little soul decides to be with us, to be our child, decides that we are going to be his or her parents, everything is going to be all right. So I also have these thoughts and feelings, and on the other hand, I just feel overwhelmed. So that's a big topic. The whole topic, children, is a big topic that is responsible for something that feels like a little midlife crisis. And if you can relate, please share your story. I would love to open up this topic. If this is for you, if you want to have children, don't have children, if you have the same fears and feelings or whatever, and you can comment on Instagram, or you can send me a private message, an email, a private message on Instagram, on Facebook, or to info@ullagoldberg.com. And the other big topic that leads to that little midlife crisis is that when I was younger, I thought when you're 35, you have your shit together. You're very grown up, you know what's going on in life, and you have it all under control. And that doesn't feel like it to me, actually. And probably I'm not alone. Probably a lot of you think the same if you're in your 30s or maybe even older. And if you're younger and you think by the time you're 35, you have everything under control, no. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it feels like to me, actually. That's why I sometimes also think, is something wrong with me? I don't feel that grown up. Sometimes I feel like a little child and I want to curl up and cry, and I want somebody to hold me and pat my back, and sometimes I don't feel grown up at all, and I'm overwhelmed by all these decisions to make and all the things to come, and I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but then there's so many things I still want to achieve, and I know I have time, but I'm also pretty impatient, which is sometimes good because I'm also good at just doing stuff and not waiting, because I don't like waiting at all. I want to get things done and I want to achieve things. So on the one hand, this is a really good feature, being impatient. On the other hand, it can drive you crazy because there's so many things that I want to reach that sometimes after I have the feeling I haven't succeeded. I'm not successful in life. Though from the outside, people would probably think she is abundant, she is successful, she has her stuff together. But to me, it doesn't feel like that sometimes, because my dreams and my wishes are much bigger. And then I think like, okay, now you're 35 and you still can't do this or that, or you still don't have this or that, or you still haven't achieved this or that, or you still sometimes don't know what you want, you still sometimes don't have clarity, still things go wrong, and sometimes you feel like a child. And maybe it's normal, but I also have the feeling people don't really talk about it. I mean, sometimes I hear interviews from people. I did the other day, that's why it's so present right now. I heard an interview about somebody. He's a CEO in a German company, in a coaching company, and he's been the CEO for a long time, and it's a big company, and they have like this many employees and stuff. And then he said he's 35, and I'm like, okay, I'm 35. And he has like a wife and 2 children and this company that's going international and blah, blah, blah. And I know that's why comparison is not good, but I always keep comparing myself. And I want to tell you again, try not to compare yourself. While I record this episode, I'm taking a little time off from social media because I always see how I compare myself to other coaches, other people who are about my age, or even when they're younger. It brings me into a little crisis that they've achieved so much and it looks much easier, especially on social media. I mean, we get only a glimpse of what's going on. We get like a minute out of a 24-hour day, and then we think, oh, it works out for them, but it doesn't for me. And for me, it feels like a struggle. And so that's one of my goals for the second half of this year not to compare myself to others, only compare myself to my former me. And when I do that, I can see what I've achieved. In a little over a year, I built up my business, and I just founded a second one with my partner, with another coach, with Lara. And so I have like 2 businesses, and I have a lot of happy customers. I live here in a house. I'm married. There's a lot of things that I've achieved in the last 1, 2, 3 years, and even my whole life, but still sometimes I feel like I'm not fast enough. You're 35 now. You should, be stable and this and that. But then what is stable, and who defines where you have to be when you're 35? I know that this is stupid, but I still want to share it with you, because maybe you have the same feelings or thoughts. Maybe there's people, you're in your 30s, and then you have friends that are in a relationship and have children and bought a house or build a house, and you think like, okay, I'm single in my apartment and partying on Saturday. And it's fine. I just want to tell you, it's fine. Everybody's life is different, and there's never a too late. We can still reach goals and do things when we're 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and 90. So we should never stop. It maybe one big part is to never say, well, I'm too old for that now. You're never going to be too old. That's why I don't like working towards retirement, because, well, does retirement mean we have to retire from our plans and our dreams and stop dreaming big? We can still achieve things our entire life. So I know I'm telling this to myself right now, but maybe some of you also need to hear that. And if this is your topic, please also share. Let's talk about it. And you can leave a comment, you can send me a direct message, and I just don't want to be I don't want these topics to be muted anymore. Let's talk about it. We probably all go through the same things in same phases, and it's a phase. That's the cool thing, that what I've learned is it's a phase. I know that it's always a little up and down in life, and the cool thing is it doesn't really feel like a down. So in former years, when things didn't work out the way I wanted to, it put me into a real state of sadness, and everything's going wrong, and I was just thinking about these things, what was going wrong. And that's actually a pretty cool achievement, that now I know that maybe I need to be a little more patient, and I have to look inside myself and feel inside myself what's going on, what I need right now, what the next step could be patient. And I know that things will change again, and everything will work out. I know life is always for me, and in these phases, it needs especially trust. It needs a lot of trust into that life, into universe. And maybe there's at least one person out there that needed to hear this today, and maybe I can help you get into trust. Let's do it together. And I really wanted to talk about this topic for a while. What's going on in my life? Not everything is perfect. The topic, having children or not, is pretty present right now. And I've never talked about this in public, but it felt right today. And maybe I could give you some hope or some thoughts, and just so you know you're not alone. And I would love it if you shared it, so that I know maybe I'm not alone, or maybe you have a good tip for all of us, a recommendation. Maybe you got through this phase already and can share with us how you did it. So thanks a lot for listening to this episode. It's a little longer than I thought it would be. My first solo English episode. Please share this episode if you think it's relevant for other people. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you listen with Apple Podcast, please leave a review, a 5-star review. Would be happy if you did that so I can reach more people. And I hope you tune in next time when I say let's feel inside ourselves. The next English episode will probably be in 2 weeks. And if you like these episodes in English, let me know. Maybe I'll do it more often. Hope to hear you again. Yours, Ola.